Episode number 2, Call to Be Obedient podcast. I'm here with my smoking hot wife, Tennille, and I'm the one and only. Well, not really.
My
the one
smoking
and
hot husband, Matt.
Matt Milton Jr. in the flesh. So today's topic we're going to be talking about, it's kind of our purpose of why we started making this podcast, and hence our titles, Called to Be Obedient. And sometimes in life it's extremely difficult to actually be obedient to what God is really telling us to do. So is there like a time in your life that you can just think outside of the podcast where it was difficult to be obedient to what God was calling you to do?
Well, we were just kind of talking about this and just how powerful God is, because he can use a moment to kind of illuminate something for you. And as a family, we have 2 beautiful children. Our 10-year-old was praying about my father, and I have a very distant relationship with him, and it's a very painful place. My childhood wasn't the best, I guess you could say, but like we all kind of go through those things. But
We all have that trauma.
yeah, different varying levels, it feels like. But in reflecting upon it, I'm like, why is this bothering me that he's praying about my father and meeting him? And it just brought up a really painful spot for me, because for years I've wanted things to look differently with him, and yearning and really wanting there to be this awakening moment to already have happened, where he would just come to me and tell me that he loves me and want to be in relationship, and how can we work through things of the past, and I'm sorry, and let's work on this because you're important to me. And a lot of the foundation of what I had growing up with him was Christian based, but it was in a very fearful, authoritarian way that just kind of was do as I say, not as I do, and I will rule you through parenting, through control. And it brought up a painful spot for me. And so to really reflect and think about it, it's like, why would I be upset that my innocent 10-year-old is listening to the things that we're telling him to do, and he's praying for my father? Yep. And yes, there's a lot of hurt there. There's a lot of pain. It doesn't mean that what he did is okay, and that by praying for him, I'm excusing the things that he did. But by praying for him, it's really seeking and asking God for an opportunity to really step in and show me and display for my son. And who knows, maybe he'll come around, maybe he won't. That's out of my control. But what I can do is I can pray and ask and seek for his face, and just be so in awe of the innocence of my child. And that's exactly what God talks about. Like, we need to be like children, and praying for him. And so, yeah. And through that, my heart has lightened, and I could see areas where I needed to let go. And like, that was such a beautiful thing, that through obedience and praying with Connor for my father, just something that I didn't even think of was still with me.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah, definitely. That was when he started to pray about that, for sure. I was kind of like, oh wow. I just kind of opened up my eyes. But it just goes to show that, like, the innocence of a child, and like they truly listen to what we have to say, and like they're listening. Like, they're listening to what's being told to them by us, by those at church, what's in the Bible and things like that. And it's just really humbling for me as well, because it is difficult to pray for those difficult people that have kind of hurt us throughout our life. So it's really neat to see, our kid just kind of, even though it necessarily didn't affect him directly, it still is affecting him because he has no relationship with him. But he's willing to put that aside and be like, hey, we still need to pray for this person, even though he's done a lot of hurtful things, because God forgives every one of us if we ask for forgiveness. You know, he's already paid that sacrifice for us, and it's just really special that like we have the opportunity to, with time, forgive those who that have hurt us, and to truly pour back into them, because that's truly honoring God and, you know, showing love for what he's done for us. But so what kind of things kind of get in the way of us being obedient? Like what kind of things like kind of put a pause in us being obedient, would you say?
Well, there's a lot of things that I can think of, but I feel like offense really gets in the way, and us thinking in terms of ourselves of what justice looks like, and what things need to be in this condition before I can proceed forward, kind of thing. Like, even for my father, like, okay, of course I want good things for him and I want blessings for him, but he needs to be accountable for the things that he did. And the accountability in my mind looks a certain way. Yeah. And when we truly think about the grand scheme of things and how we all play such an important role, like God has given us each a unique purpose, and our identity is rooted in him. And so when we come from a place of strength, of knowing that we all need grace because we all fall short. I fall short as a wife, as a mother. And that doesn't mean that if someone has hurt you or done something that is harmful, that you just need to say, okay, that's okay, so I'll just continue to let you continue this behavior. That's why boundaries are important, and working with God and having people, God-centered people in your life who can help you talk through what those healthy boundaries look like, until we get to that place of understanding too, like, I'm going to let this go. I'm relinquishing control of this so that I can let God be in charge and less of us being in charge. I feel like that's also a really big factor too. It's like control, offense, holding on to things that prevent us from walking in the freeness of God because we're too busy protecting ourselves and fearful that like God won't protect us, when God truly is the one that's protecting us day in and day out. And the enemy wants us to focus on the negative little things that people do, that sometimes there's intention and sometimes there isn't intention behind it, and they literally have no idea.
Yep.
So what about you?
I think you hit the last point you said, being fearful. I think fear is probably one of the top things why people are maybe a little hesitant to be obedient to what God calls us to do. Me personally, when I look at my life, I mean, just creating this podcast, like, I'm not one that really likes to get up in front of the camera or kind of record myself talking necessarily, but as I'm, progressing with my time here on this planet, I'm getting more and more comfortable speaking and talking and kind of bringing out to life the lessons that I've learned. And then I think that it's important for people to see and hear the lessons that I have, pour back into other people and other individuals, even though I don't feel comfortable doing that right now. But by me choosing to be obedient and to do these types of things, I'm going to grow, I'm going to get better. I'm trusting in God, like, hey, this is what I need to do. He's going to give me the strength and the power to really improve. And the things that I say out of my mouth, I want it to be what he has to say. He's using me as his voice to talk to you all. And I think just being fearful of just the unknown of what's going to come of it. Maybe I sit here and I don't talk, or I don't say the right words, or I stumble, or I look goofy. And I mean, I'm sitting next to this smoking hot individual here, and I'm like, I look like a bum. You know what I mean? Like, in my mind. And that's not true, because look at me, dude. I'm pretty sweet. But what I'm getting at here at the end of the day is we got to be more just accepting of what God has called on us, and just understand that we can do it. There's no need to be fearful, and it's really important for us to be obedient and to do what he calls us to do, because the purpose of us living and walking on this earth is for him. So
yes, take that leap of faith and know that he qualifies us in ways that we could never qualify ourselves. So good stuff.
My last question that I have is a little bit kind of, I don't know, more inner soul here.
Okay.
How is it that you know that God is telling you to do something? How do you just know, like, this is what God called me to do? Like, in your
Yeah.
words for those, like, what would you say?
Well, I think there are a number of different ways God speaks to us each differently. But something I really lean into is when there is opposition to whatever it is that I feel like God has led me to do. Like maybe I get an idea to do something. I'm like, okay, is this God? And then I just all of a sudden feel so much opposition to it that I wasn't expecting. And I feel like it's almost like it sends off alarm bells and like ding, 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 red flags of like, is this God trying to protect me from this? Or is this the enemy trying to prevent me from doing what God wants me to do? And when the insecurities start to flow and all of the flaws and the things are kind of piling up of like, we aren't qualified to do this, and there's so many different podcasts that are out there, and what if we say the wrong thing, and how do we plan everything out, and all of these different things that have prevented us from doing this so many weekends and weeks where we're like, we're gonna do it, we're gonna sit down, we're finally gonna do it. That is a big one for me. And I think just so it may sound counter to what I just said, but if there's a certain urgency to do something that you don't feel like a peace about, like God gives me, there's been times in my life before where I've had to make really big changes that were very scary, that I only had a moment's peace. And I had a really wonderful, wise friend tell me many years ago, when you get that moment of peace, you have to hold on to that and protect that, because then the enemy is coming in trying to bombard you with so many different things. Hold on to that moment of peace that God gave you, and just know that that is what he's calling you to do, because it was a really big change in a job that I was going to make. And, at the time I was like, I really need the security that I already have. And yes, this could be a better opportunity, but it could be worse. What if they don't like me? What if I get fired? And now I've lost this thing that I've worked so hard for. Nobody else is changing their jobs right now. Like, am I insane? There's people that have been at this company for X amount of years. This just isn't how things are done. Moving on to something else. Like, who do I think I am? And I just see people who complain and they just accept things as how they are because that's the reality of life. But it's like, I have this opportunity, and yes, there's things that could go wrong, but I had this peace. And I'm so thankful for this Christian friend that I had that was like, I was talking to her and she was being so patient and listening to all of my issues and my concerns. And I'm so thankful for her not trying to appease me, but really just convicting me in that moment and saying, remember we first talked about this several weeks ago? Mm-hmm. At the end of that conversation, you had a peace and you just need to go with it. I know it's scary, but God gave you that peace, and the enemy's coming against you to attack you. So the enemy has so many different ways to attack us, and he'll do whatever he can.
Yeah.
So
you're not wrong.
that's my long multi-answer for you.
I think for me, I think dreams are a big one that a lot of people I've come into contact with have kind of had a sense of like, this is what I'm called to do. For me personally, like, I get this really strong sense, like, down in my heart to do something. And then when I talk to someone else, they bring up that same exact thing that I was just talking about. And then another person brings up the exact same thing. So I think just being in constant prayer and not only just prayer, but having time to meditate, having that quiet one-on-one time with God just to kind of process and just listen to receive what he's giving you. I think that's the biggest thing. I don't know if you guys can hear our daughter in the back crying, so it's a little difficult for us to have our quiet time and peace. But if you find yourself in the car driving somewhere, like, that's a great time to
She's
have
being
that.
watched, by the way. She's not by herself. Okay, but go ahead. I just wanted to make that very clear. We are not those kinds of parents.
But if you get that quiet one-on-one time in the car, like, that's a time to just listen to what God has for you.
Wrap it up.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's all we have for today. If you guys like what we have to bring to you guys, if you guys like watching the show or listening through your services, give us a subscribe, pass it on to your friends. Let's get this thing spreading, and we'll keep bringing content to you all. And if you have anything that you want us to talk about, send us a comment, and we'll get to it. All right.
Yeah,
That's all we got
good.
for today.
We love you. Thank you so much for listening.
Deuces.